Former President Trump spoke at two events on Saturday, a Christian conference in Washington and then a rally in Philadelphia. And here are some of his more notable remarks.
The whole thing was they wanted the Roe v. Wade was federal, and they wanted it all back in the states where the people could vote and make their decisions. It's now up to the will of the people in each state. Some states will be more conservative, other states will be more liberal. It's happening now. You see the votes are all taking place. And it's the way every legal scholar and just about all the Democrats and all the Republicans and conservatives and liberals, they all wanted it that way. And we did something that was amazing. Christians go to church, but they don't vote that much. Do you know the power you have if you would vote? It wouldn't even be. So you got to get out and vote. Just this time, I don't care. In 4 years, you don't have to vote, okay? In 4 years, don't vote. I don't care. But we'll have it all straightened out. My stupid people, when I wanted to refute it, they said, sir, don't dignify it with a refutal. Refutal or a refutal? What the hell word would that be? Refutal? What they'll say, he didn't know, refutal or refutal, but they don't know either. We have to get out there. We have to vote. We have to make sure everything's honest. And you keep your eyes open. You know, you're the police in a way. You can police your vote. A lot of people don't know that. Just make sure that vote counts. We have to make sure it counts. I told Dana White of UFC, I said, here's what we're going to do. You know, these are tough cookies coming into our country, coming with prisons and mental institutions. I said, Dana, I have an idea for you to make a lot of money. You're going to go and start a new migrant fight league. Migrants, only migrants. And then at the end of the year, the champion migrant is going to fight your champion. And I hate to tell you, Dana, I think the migrant might win. That's how tough they are. We saved the world from those forts, and now they decide to take the names off. And wait till you see ultimately what happens with those names. They did, I call it a transition, like transitioning. They have a transition name before they name it. The Reverend Al Sharpton Fort. Fort Al Sharpton. Now you can just imagine. You can just imagine. But this is a transition. They've done a couple of transitions. These people they're sick.
Sick? They're sick. No, they don't like losers. They don't like losers, Donald. I know you like losers. You like losing. You've lost 7 years in a row. I don't know if you know, but because of you, your party lost in 2017. Your party lost in 2018. Your party lost in 2019. Your party lost in 2020. Your party lost in 2021. Your party lost in 2022. Your party lost in 2023. If the past is prologue, your party's going to lose in 2024. So, yeah, there are a lot of people in the South, Southerners like myself. We don't really like naming forts after losers. That's not transitioning. That's like we want to name forts after American patriots who win wars. Donald, maybe you should see the beginning of Patton, where George C. Scott stands in front of an American flag and says Americans don't want and won't abide losers. They want winners. And so, yeah, we don't want some loser who tried to overthrow the federal government so slavery could continue another 100 years or so. We like winners. I say that as a Southerner. Okay? A little worried about Alabama Crimson Tide. I mean, is DeBoer going to be as good as Saban? I don't know. But if he's not, they'll fire him. Because that's how we think in the South. That's how we think in America. So, yeah, you want to name forts after losers, after Confederate soldiers, Confederate generals that rebelled against the United States of America? That's you. Reverend Al, I'll take a Fort Sharpton. It sounds nice.
I like it.
It sounds nice about an America, about a military moving toward a more perfect union and not stuck in its slaveholding past like poor Donald there wants us to be stuck in the mid-1800s.
Well, I think that one of the things that comes to mind is, of course, you know, he's playing to a crowd that clearly is against some of the things that I've represented, civil rights and other things. But the fact of the matter is he's also revealing himself. Most military bases are named after people who served in the military. And the one thing that he and I have in common is neither one of us served in the military. So you would think after being president 4 years, he would know by now what military bases are for. But he also showing to say that we should not take military generals or military people off of naming our military bases, as you've just talked about, Joe. It shows how he embraces Confederates being preserved as something that taxpayers of all races are paying for. Let's remember when we had the marches of blacks and Jews together in Charlottesville for the removal of Robert E. Lee, the Confederate general statue, and people were killed. One lady was killed. It was Trump that said there were fine people on both sides. So he reminds us of his embrace of that. And to take it a step further, in the collage of quotes you showed or statements he made over the weekend, he now is openly saying that women's rights ought to be done by states' rights. The whole civil rights movement was to get away from states' rights and have the federal government protect our civil rights. Now he's saying women's rights should be dealt with state by state, which was exactly the template of segregation and something the civil rights movement and now the women's rights movement must fight against.
So Thursday night's debate looms as an undeniably important moment in this campaign. President Biden is preparing by being at Camp David with some of his most trusted advisors, going through rigorous debate prep and rehearsals. He'll be there until Thursday morning, debate day. We just saw, Caddy, what Donald Trump, how he's preparing. He's at these rallies, he's incoherent remarks, and as noted in one of those clips, even proposing a UFC-style fighting championship among migrants. And he said it at both that rally in Philadelphia as well as at a Christian conference. And at that conference as well, he got cheers, he got laughter. This is where his audience is. That's what he thinks works. But do we really think that kind of stuff's going to play Thursday night when he's actually trying to win over some undecided voters?
Yeah, and then, of course, his campaign comes back and says, actually, that was just a joke, of course, and the libs can't take a joke, and they think we're talking about some kind of, human cockfighting thing, and actually this is the proud martial arts that they're going to be involved in. It's a dog whistle, again, about migrants, and that's a large part of his campaign is the kind of nativism around migrants. But he's been telling us, it was interesting at one of the rallies over the weekend when he's kind of polling the crowd. Remember, this is his debate prep, but he's polling the crowd about how he should actually perform and saying, should I really go after him, attack him, or should I just be quiet and meek? And, of course, one gets cheers and one gets boos. There's one thing that I am hearing from the Trump campaign is that, and you talk to both campaigns, I'm sure you do too, John, and they both sound very confident about Thursday night. But one of the things that they have said is that they think actually paradoxically that this format helps Donald Trump because having his mic killed for that time, it was back in 2020. I still have kind of PTSD from that 2020 first debate, which was such a, I'm not even going to use the word, it wasn't a debate, it was a nightmare. And they think that the fact that he's going to be muted means that actually it'll help him not come across as being so bullying, so crazy seeming, so extreme. And so they're pretty confident that this is a format that works for them. Let's wait until we see Thursday night.
And Reverend Al, it is so fascinating, as Jonathan Muir brought up, Donald Trump was speaking to a group, I guess, Christian nationalists. They call themselves Christians. Maybe they are Christian nationalists, people who, are all about politics and not about faith, because Donald Trump talked about a fight club for migrants, a fight club for the very people Jesus talked about in Matthew 25, the poor, the hungry. I mean, you look at the story of the Good Samaritan, there's not an overlay there, really. With that. Well, I would never have heard this in any church growing up. You would have never heard this in any church growing up. And yet Donald Trump goes into this so-called Christian conference talking about a fight club for migrants, and they're laughing and they're cheering. About as far away from the story of the Good Samaritan, about as far away from what Jesus says in Matthew 25, I think it's 31 through 46, verses 31 to 46. Nothing's further apart. than what Jesus said and what Donald Trump's saying. And of course, that just doesn't matter to them.
No, you have the scripture right, Matthew, but the other thing that was so callous about it is he said that he called to tell the UFC they should make money using these migrants to fight each other, make the money, and then he wants to deport them. I mean, if that's not exploiting people that is seeking a better life in their weakest hour, this is his proposition. Let's use them. Let's fight each other. The winner can fight our champion, but these are tough guys, all for exploiting, making money. He said to her, you can make a lot of money off of this, like you can make money off these people. At the same time, he tells the Christian crowd, you Christians don't vote enough, which is absurd on its face, but is now tantamount to voting, is that you must vote for him to confirm your Christianity. It should have been insulting.
Again, if Joe Biden said this to any audience, ... you know how it goes.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.